Alright, so I'm going to show you guys what it's like working with arrays in Make. So if you look at my screen, you'll see that I have three modules for tools, and at the very end of my scenario is an array aggregator. And so what an array aggregator does is it can take information and it'll just group it together so that all the information is kind of put together from being individual bits of information to almost like a list or a collection of that information. So I'll show you guys what that looks like right now. So for the first module, I have variable name, and for variable value, I have Blake. For the second module, I have height and 5'7". And for the last module, or the third module, I have weight and 155 pounds, right? So far, pretty simple. This is just information for an imaginary person named Blake. And what the array aggregator does is it takes the name, the height, and the weight, and it groups it all together. And so I'll show you guys what that looks like right now by running this scenario. And at the very end, the result for the aggregator, you can see that the bundle has a result of array, which you can see here when I hover over it, it just says array in all lowercase, or in these parentheses, it says array. And then I have to click the drop down again, and now you'll see information for Blake, right? And so if I wanted to, I could also add another module here, and what this could be is, say it's Blake's shoe size, right? And this could be useful for, say I'm running like a shoe store or something like that, right? And I want to keep track of my customers' information, right, when putting it into a database. So I'll go ahead and save this, and then I will go into my array aggregator and select shoe size since I modified my scenario, save it again, and then hold on, save it again, and then run it again. So once that happens, you can see that now the array consists of Blake's name, his height, his weight, and his shoe size. And so how this is useful is, instead of having just four different modules, all of the same type, so all of these are just, you can see purple tools modules, this could be stuff like one module could be Google Sheets, another module could be Microsoft Excel, another module could be emails, all these different modules. It could be more than four, less than four. It could be a whole bunch of modules that contain all different bits of information. And I can use this to aggregate all that information, say it's information on a client, and bring all that information together so I could put it somewhere. So like a database. So let's say at the end of this, I could have Excel or Google Sheets open, or even use it for automatic form filling out, like anything of that nature. It'll just be easier to collect all that information from a bunch of different sources and move it around with the array aggregator. And I'll show you guys kind of what that looks like in a second. If I just choose another set variable and put it at the end of here, and I can just change this to say Blake's info and make it the full array, which you can see I don't have to click out each and every one of these bits of information. I don't have to click out his name, his shoe size, his weight, his height, whatever. I can just put in the array, run the scenario. Let me auto align and save it so it looks a little bit nicer, and then run the scenario. And then at the very end, you'll see that it has right here Blake's info as an array, and it has all of his information. So now I can take just this thing right here that says Blake's info, and I can mail it to somebody. I can download it as data. I can send it to Blake himself if he has his email and contact information. It just makes it a lot easier to group together bits and pieces of data and put it places. And so that is a very useful way of using the array aggregator. And so now what I'll show you guys is the iterator, which is essentially the aggregator in reverse. And so you can even see they're direct mirrors of each other. So what you want to do is, for the array aggregator, you just plop in an array, you map it, and then I'll go ahead and, actually I think what I'll do is I'll go ahead and save it. I don't like it when it gives me those errors at the end, because it makes me feel like I did something wrong. And I'll go ahead and run it. And now what you'll see is it basically does the opposite of an array. The result of the bundle is all the individual bits of information, Blake's individual name, his height, his weight, instead of what you can see here for the input, the collection of all of that information. right? And so basically all the array iterator does is it dismantles the array. It breaks it down and breaks it apart. And what the aggregator does is it puts the array together. And you can kind of see which one does which through its individual images that's listed right here. And so that is a quick overview of working with arrays in Make.